Good morning, friends, and welcome to Take Two for this Thursday, May the 24th, 2018. I hope you're all having a wonderful and a beautiful day. It's almost the end of the week, and then we got a holiday weekend, so I hope that you're making great plans to really, truly enjoy it. Spend time with family, have a little rest, whatever it takes. I want to talk to you a little bit today about back in the olden days, after I finished college. I was just finishing school and I was getting ready to move out west. But in between, I had a little bit of a summer break before I was going to be leaving for parts unknown. And I had an opportunity to do a summer internship at Merrill Lynch. I worked with my friend Leslie, my good friend Leslie, and she got me this job. She was already a secretary there, and she said, you know, we need some filing clerks for the summer to organize the file system. It wasn't a glamorous job or anything like that, but it was kind of fun because I got to, you know, put on a dress and heels every day back in the days when people actually did that, and go into Manhattan, downtown Manhattan every day. It was right down there in the business district, exactly across the street from the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. So it was really a busy beehive of activity down there. And it was just a fun thing to be able to do. And so I did that for the entire summer. Now, one thing that I had to do was to go to the office building up on the 43rd floor. That's where her office was. And that was something that I was just a little skittish about because as far back as I could remember, I have always had a problem with elevators. I just do not like them, and I know that I'm preaching to some other folks out there who feel quite the same way. It's just not my favorite thing to do, get on an elevator and go 43 floors to my office every day. But unfortunately, that was the case. That's where they were, and that's what I had to do. Now, this particular branch of Merrill Lynch had the 42nd and 43rd floor. They had the whole entire floor, and it was a big organization, the big branch that she was working with. And so the 42nd to 43rd had a little bit of a staircase so you can go back and forth between the two without having to take the elevator. But initially, every morning when I went in, I had to do that. Now, because I was the file clerk, I don't even think there is such a job as that anymore, but because I was kind of like, you know, the summer intern, I got called upon to do a lot more than just filing. If somebody wanted a bagel and a coffee, they'd send me down to the lobby coffee shop to go get it. Someone needed a pack of cigarettes, they would send me to the corner stand. Somebody needed an errand run on the 10th floor, send Jeanne. So I was up and down in that elevator all day long. And of course, going to lunch, go down and, you know, the great eateries around the area. So we would explore that every day. Mid-afternoon, let's go get a frozen yogurt. You know, I would go and I would do that. So my point being, I had to take that elevator whether I liked it or not. Now, I must confess that there were times that I was really kind of afraid to get on that elevator. But I heard somebody say one time, if you are afraid of something, afraid to do something, the best thing you could do is to do it afraid. And so I had no choice in the matter. I had to get on that elevator multiple times a day. Now, I have to say it wasn't so bad if I got on it and one or two people got on it with me odd hours of the day. But when there was commuting hours, like morning or like first going in at 9 or first getting done at 5, I would get on at 43. There might have been a handful of people on it. I think the entire building had about 50 or 60 floors. So I might have a handful coming in when I got on. But by the time I got down to the first floor, it kept stopping and more people kept getting on till sometimes we were packed in like sardines. And talk about making your heart flutter. If you had any kind of fear of elevators or claustrophobia, that usually would seal the deal by the time you got to the bottom floor. But I was afraid to do it, but I simply had to do it afraid. So I know that it was just for the summer and I was able to grin and bear it. But the fact of the matter is that there's times where you have to do something over and over again, whether you like it or not. And it can, bring fear into your heart, the very idea of doing it. But the only way to conquer it is by just getting out there and doing it afraid. So is there something that you might be facing today, something that you just absolutely dislike, or absolutely the thought of doing it makes you just utterly afraid? Maybe it's to talk to somebody. Maybe it's to confront a situation. Now I do have to say this with great care. Please, I always try to bring balance to these messages, okay? And these encouraging words that I try to bring you. But if it's something that's bringing on a great deal of fear for very serious reasons, like, it's something that could bring danger to you or something, heed those warnings in your heart. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm talking about the kind of irrational fear that I used to have every single time those doors would go ding and open up and I had to step onto that elevator. Now, I do have to tell you this story, which is probably not very funny then, but now that I think back on it, it was a little funny. I got on that elevator one day at the rush hour at the end of the day, and before you know it, there was a whole bunch of men in suits and women in high heels and carrying briefcases had gotten on the elevator with me. And when I got on, it was packed to unbelievable, packed, numbers. And it was a hydraulic elevator, so it could do like 2 stories per second to go zoom, zoom, but you couldn't feel it because it was like hydraulically pushing you down. But for some reason, maybe it was overloaded, what have you, that elevator decided that the hydraulics weren't going to work and it went ba-boom. And then it just started drifting down. So in other words, it took us to go from 43 to 1. It took us about 6 or 7 or 8 minutes, the longest 6, 7 or 8 minutes of my entire life. And standing next to me was a professional looking businessman in a suit. And he took his fingers and he started digging them into my shoulder going, and I thought, oh Lord, here I am trying to give comfort to this man when my heart's pounding a million beats a minute. So, sometimes you're called upon to help somebody through their being afraid moment when you yourself are afraid. So think about that. You can be a comfort to somebody. You can be a blessing to somebody who, really is going through that being afraid moment as much as you are. If not, you're even going through it worse than them. So think about that. And I'm going to say that again. I'm going to reiterate that be a blessing thing. Be a blessing to somebody today. You might end up being the only one who is. And if being a blessing means helping them through their being afraid and going through it and doing it afraid moment, you go ahead and you be that one who can do that. Okay? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, JeanneSigler, Jeanne Sigler. You can watch past take-twos. And don't forget to tune in to WRMZ.org for some great, wonderful, soothing music. If you're afraid, turn on that music and maybe it'll help you not be so afraid, or at least help get you through it. Okay? Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time. I love you and I'm not afraid to say it.